wants to see and if he can call a big river bet there.
Exactly. It's a tricky spot because none of his outs are to the nuts. And there's even some chance that he's drawing dead already if Sammy has a king or queen, king or ace high flush.
Woke up in literally like worst street shooting pain in my life. Like worse than, you know, punch in the face, baseball,
yeah, of course, it's
anything like that.
It's the worst, bro. It's the worst.
Worse than like any teeth thing. Just like I was just like screaming at the top of my lungs, like, oh,
of course, man.
Because like I had no idea what it was. I didn't know. You know what I mean?
You know that's the worst pain.
I think he's talking about those cramps
like
that you get when you're lying in bed.
I get it all the time.
But I mean, like, I've had, obviously, you know, had some rando bad cramp before, but this was like, I literally, like, couldn't, and I was 6-tabling at the time.
Yeah.
So I just sat there screaming, like, ah, and it was like, click, 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 and then just, like, choked my computer.
No. But did you get massage?
Yeah, she, like, woke up and did that, and it felt better.
Well, you need to. You need to, like, put your leg back like that. That's what all the footballers do. Ask Eddie. Okay, I'll lay out a little bit, okay? Please.
Well, there is a little pot going on, but Sammy bets and takes it. I mean, Durrrr has been.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like sore today.
Oh, it would be. It would be. Listen, it's the worst.
Yesterday was
I
so
cry
sad.
when I get it. I like a bitch. I cry. I'm like on the floor, you know, squealing like a pig, like oink, oink.
If I had that once a day for 30 minutes, I would just instantly just find the highest place to jump off of, and then, I mean, it was terrible. It was,
the best
feeling.
feeling.
I just take painkillers.
The best feeling is when it goes. Is the relief when it goes.
Right.
That's the feeling you need. That's the one. There you go, bro.
It was so sick though while 6-tabling. Like, luckily I wasn't in any big hands. You know, I was in like a bunch of smaller ones.
Yeah, because you're in the same position. That's what it is, and the blood stops circulating.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that's why you're going to get the crap, of course. Standard.
He has been keeping up a very sort of intense schedule lately, Tom. He's been playing these matches, heads-up matches in the day, and sort of one line all night.
Yeah, there's this crazy action going online right now with a unknown player by the screen name of Isildur, who Tom has been playing quite a bit with. Hasn't gone so well for him thus far, which just seems to make him want to put in even more hours playing the guy.
Meanwhile, now Sammy with the full house going for, it looks like the big bet on the river. And we haven't really seen any of these, only this one big overbet called so far.
Yeah, and both times Sammy has overbet, he's had a huge hand.
What'd you do then?
Funny,
I mean, I wouldn't care. If, like, that cramp, I would definitely have come out. I wouldn't care. Like,
you know,
making
running
that go
around
away
the house
with
naked. Yeah, but you got, like, I'm sure your body looks nicer naked than mine, but the point is, you know, last thing you want to see is a 120-kilo geezer running around the house with a cramp in his left leg. It just doesn't look right. And then you want you know what I mean? You know, you just don't want to be involved in it, to be honest.
That was a dark raise from Tom, I
around.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
No, he seems to have gotten a perfectly nice hand anyhow.
Okay, what do I do here?
So we're talking about those overbets on the river, and you're saying Isildur, and it actually seems to be something that this Isildur, and that is becoming more common in the poker world, is these big overbets on the river in this game.
Definitely. In Heads Up No Limit, there are a lot of good opportunities to overbet. There are a lot of situations where your opponent will almost never have a very strong hand, and you often will. And you can put him to a really tough decision by consistently in those spots making huge bets, both with the hands that he can never beat and with bluffs.
Well, I guess I should have bet the turn then.
Yes.
Welcome back to where Isaac Haxton and myself watching the Full Tilt Poker Durrrr $1 Million Challenge. 7 deuce game now on for 10K. Roland and Neil don't think it's going to affect things.
Well, I think it's going to encourage both sides to make sure they try to win the pot when they get dealt 7 deuce. But from sort of a defensive standpoint, I don't think either player should really be doing anything too differently to counteract it. You just don't get dealt 7-deuce often enough for it to matter that much in a heads-up game.
Check.
And this, a 3-bet from Durrrr, and now checking the flop. Checking to call?
Probably not. It's such a coordinated board. There's so many bad cards for him. I don't know what his plan would be if he were to call here.
He's having a good think about it.
Yeah.
Is check raise a line that you could take here ever?
You could, if for some reason you really thought that Sammy was specifically going to bet and then fold with a hand like the one he has, bottom pair or second pair. There just aren't that many hands that are ahead of ace-jack that are going to fold to further action on this board. But there he goes. I wonder if he somehow has the impression that Sammy has the hand he has and is going to fold it. Or if he thinks that maybe Sammy will call once with a queen, but will not go all the way to showdown if he's playing to run a really big bluff here.
Can I have a count, please?
And I mean, for Durrrr to take this line,
125.
is his information
125 after the 40, so the
the
total
bet
is what?
size? Sammy bet about 3/4 the pot.
What, over there?
That
Plus
could
this
be
or-
it.
No, that's not included.
Sammy has tended to bet
Okay.
Plus
really
that,
big
it's
over
124.
the size of the pot when he has a very strong hand. So Tom may have the impression that he's very likely to have bottom or middle pair here.
124 on top, so it's one.
What?
170.
Well, he's asked Durrrr for a count. I mean, it's a lot of money here.
Yeah, there's a 124 behind, which means that if
172.
Sammy were to call here, Durrrr would have just over the size of the pot left to play on the turn, which is a perfect amount to shove if he happens to turn something like a 9 or a 10 to give him a gut shot. 10 actually gives him a double gut shot.
I mean, obviously, if the cards are face up, Sammy shoves, but it's either a very rash play or ridiculously strong, right?
Yeah, he has shown some stubbornness when the pots have gotten big. He did make that huge call against Tom's overbet to start things off.
He's obviously suspicious, and is it because this
He's
is the
obviously nervous, too. You can tell he doesn't have a set. He's pulled off his sunglasses and he's chewing on them. He's almost... He can't call now, because Tom will know exactly what he has. If he wants to continue, he's just going to have to end the
So
pot.
let's see.
He's definitely hurt himself by looking so obviously distressed.
A quarter of that. Which means either up and down or you've got queen, jack.
Pass.
And it looks like Tom has gotten away with his first big bluff of the match, and he's going to show just
Queen
the
jack.
jack.
Nope.
Tom grabbing a few chips back. Sammy's still in the lead. And you're talking before about showing those different lines early in a match. And it is Durrrr who's showing more different sorts of lines so far, isn't it?
Absolutely. You definitely get the sense that he's probing Sammy for weaknesses, trying to find a game plan here. He seems to like 3-betting him a lot, and he's coming up with different ways to try to win those pots once he has. He's betting out a lot, sometimes he's check raising, throwing in a check fold every once in a while.
And this, a hand that I believe Sammy has usually been sort of 3-betting with, the ace on the big blind.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I did.
Well, it's
because I
important
don't
to mix
look
in
into
some
my eyes.
calls with an ace so that
get
when you do
nervous.
call and a board comes like this, your opponent can't just automatically win because he knows you never have top
Go
pair.
and show me.
Usually, no.
Okay.
With the 9 of clubs, too.
And that hand,
Yeah.
Durrrr managed and got away with losing absolutely nothing. Kind of frustrates Sammy a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Showing him that he folded a pair there.
3,500.
Oh!
And Sammy is the first to collect the 7 deuce bounty.
Cool little 10K over. I mean, it is something that Roland Neal pointed out, which is that you usually do see this game played in a ring game. I mean, you must have played it.
I should know better than you in that game.
It makes a much bigger difference in a ring game because, say, there's a situation where I might re-raise with jacks or better, ace-king, and a few bluffs to balance that out. Now you add in 7 deuce there, and it really changes the situation. In a heads-up game, it's a very different effect because both players are playing such wide ranges to begin with that adding in 7 deuce matters a lot less.
Cost myself 10.
I'm happy now because if you do it, I'm good. It's only 10 G's on the pass.
Oh,
so I've got it here. Stable.
Look at this.
Put that there.
Looks like Tom's got 7 deuce again.
Can you imagine if 7 deuce money goes more? Oh, sick.
You're going to up like 100,000 in it? You probably will too.
Yeah, 100%. Check.
Check. 5,000. Oh.
And so, if you are Tom, you're computing that the pot is 10K bigger than it actually is.
Exactly. So this is a spot where ordinarily you might check behind for a little pot control with your medium strength hand, but now you just want to win it right away. You want to be sure to win this spot because you've got 7 deuce.
Same thing about this turn bet.
Exactly. Yeah.
1,300.
The pot's 16 for Sammy, but it's 26 for Tom.
Now, depending on what river card comes, there's going to be a lot of times when Tom wants to check this back, right?
Yeah. I think he'll probably check it back on most cards. He might try to bluff on, say, a jack, an 8, or a 6. But on this card, I'd expect him to check it back.
The idea he cannot get Sammy to fold a better hand?
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't make sense to bluff. It doesn't make sense to bet for value. Sammy's not going to call twice, and he's not going to fold better. He could bet... If he bet, it would be solely to try to get Sammy to fold another 7.
Looks like Sammy's considering a bet here.
Yes, it does.
And is that what he should be thinking about?
He's played this hand a little strangely. He's set himself up to be in a situation where he is going to have to try to bluff the river to win, because he's called the turn with only the straight draw. But at the same time, checking twice and then betting on that card, it's hard to see what he's representing there. I'd expect Tom to call him if Sammy bets here.
Right. I mean, if he had like ace, queen, queen, jack, just, overcards, the big bet on the river is a little fishy because Tom could have a 9 here, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so it has to be a straight or a bluff or a flop full house. I mean,
even a straight or a flop full house, it's still a strange way to play the hand. You'd think he would raise at some point. Though he has overbet to his credit here, which is something I had been noticing earlier. He was only doing with strong hands. So if he's going to take such a weird line and try to get Tom to make a biggish fold, then yeah, overbetting is the way to do it.
And what are you thinking right now if you're Durrrr?
I'm confused. I'm thinking maybe Sammy has had a flush draw on the flop, or I don't think I'm expecting him to have the hand he does. The bear 8 for the straight draw.
It's a really strong call if he makes it, though. 66K.
It certainly is.
I don't have enough to shove, I guess.
Oh, you're so sick.
And Sammy shows the bluff.
Oh my God, bluff for the rebluff. That's 7 deuce. I told you it's either going to lose us money or make us money. Huh?
It's an unconventional line Sammy took there, but you got to respect the guts for sure.
I call.
It did work out.
You have 8 high.
Yeah, that'll do. I'm joking. The 8 high wins, you have 7 high.
I have a pair.
What?
7s.
75K to the good. He's taken everything
sick.
Durrr's thrown at him and thrown it right back.